Well, hello there. Welcome to our brand new Technique of the Month walkthrough. Glad you can join me on this Wednesday. Hope your week is going great. Hope you had a nice 4th of July if you're in the US. And hope you're excited to learn our brand new Technique of the Month. It's kind of a combination of two techniques we've done before. We're going to be working with a waterfall cloud pour this month, and I'm going to show you several different ways to do it. And it's a really fun technique. You can get some very beautiful paintings with the cloudy effects, and you can use multiple different types of cloud formulas. You can pour your canvas or pour your paint on your canvas in a few different ways. So we're going to be looking at several different ways of going about doing waterfall cloud pours. I've done a few of them, about, I don't know, a half a dozen, a little bit more than that perhaps. And I really enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. A little bit, need a little bit of dexterity, I guess, but not too bad. And I think you're really going to enjoy them. So right behind me is a waterfall cloud pour that I've done. And that one turned out pretty cool. It might be a little hard to see all the details up in the lighter white area, but it's kind of a colorful painting. And I enjoy that one. I like that one. And I've been working with a new cloud mixture, which I will share with you. And as usual, at the beginning of the month, I've got a waterfall cloud pour handout for you. You can go download that off of the membership, and it'll kind of explain what we're doing. And then also, this is a new formula. This is I just called it the Easy Cloud Formula 2.0. So, or Easy Cloud 2.0, you could call it that. So it's a takeoff of the Easy Cloud Pour formula that I've worked with for quite a while. But I kind of switched up some ingredients, and I'll go over the ingredients. It's still a pretty simple formula, and but it's given me some pretty cool results. And the results can vary, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we get into our demo. But I like kind of all of the results that have given me some different results, but very cool. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So welcome everyone who is all joining us so far. We've got lots of people. We've got Carla is here. Pat, welcome. Judy, awesome to see you. Lily is here. Let's see. Cinda has joined us. Fantastic. Monique is here. Wonderful. Great to see you. And so that's it. I'm sure more people will join in as we go along, or they can catch the replay. And Lily's got an important announcement and says Hobby Lobby has its Master's Touch paint on sale, $9.99 for $2.49. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great sale. Yeah, they usually have a sale every week or two, and they have like 50% off their paints. I always try to go there when they have the sale. It can be kind of hard to figure out when the sale is, but that's an awesome sale. Thanks for the heads up, Lily. Appreciate that. I'll go check that out. They've got some great colors, and I like their paint quite a bit. So let's talk first about the technique itself. You know, what is a waterfall cloud pour? And it's very simple. It's basically a waterfall pour, which we have our canvas, and I'll just kind of hold this up. We're pouring on an elevated canvas. So we're pouring from the top down, or it could be, you know, any way you want. You could pour from the long end. You could pour from the short end, which we'll do next week in like a variation. But the paint is flowing out of the cup down the canvas, and it creates a beautiful pattern. And it's sometimes referred to as a wing pour, like an angel wing pour. It like resembles wings as it rolls down, which is very pretty, but then you start tilting it. It's very difficult to keep that symmetrical wing shape. I've never been able to do it, but it's a pretty shape as it comes down, but it gives you a different type of a design. And then there's some more advanced ways of pouring under canvas. I've done this, I did this in the last Friday demo where I elevated one end of the canvas, so it pours down in a diagonal. That's a fun way that I enjoy doing waterfall pours, and the waterfall cloud pours gives you a little bit more dynamic composition. So we'll take a look at that. The demo today, we're just going to kind of do a basic waterfall cloud pour with the new cloud formula, and we'll see what we get. So, and then there's a lot of little details that I'll talk about, little variables that you can try and experiment with that'll give your paintings a little bit different look. So we'll talk about that too. So let's just talk about what is in the new cloud mix. And it's very similar to the Easy Cloud Mix. And of course you can download this, and I have the whole formula and then also the different measurements for different paint amounts. But essentially it's 2 parts of our Floetrol, just the regular old US Floetrol, 1 part of the Folk Art Multi-Surface Satin White, or you could try another color too. But I've really enjoyed using this particular white. So it's 1 part of the Folk Art Multi-Surface White. And instead of the bare satin enamel, I'm using the DecoArt satin enamel and a 1/2 part of the DecoArt satin enamel. So it's a 2, 1, and 1/2 kind of ratio to our cloud pour. And then you'll have to add a little bit of water just to get the right consistency. But I've really enjoyed the results I've gotten from this mixture, and we'll see if we can get some cool results in our demo. You could also use, with this technique, any of the different cloud mixtures. You could use just the regular old Easy Cloud Mix. That's using the Floetrol, the Craft Smart White, and then the bare satin enamel. You could use the 4-part cloud mix, which is the DecoArt satin enamel, the Vallejo pearlized medium. We'll do one of those down the road in one of our demos. So any of the cloud pours formulas will work just great with this technique. And then any color combination you want to do, it's just kind of combining 2 different techniques into one, and you can get some really fun, really beautiful results, I think. So if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask as we go along. So I'm going to just flip on over, and we'll take a look at the colors we have got set up for our demo, and then I'll talk about some of these kind of intricacies, these little details you might want to think about and pay attention to. So let me flip the camera over, and we'll take a look. So I've got a 16 by 20 right here ready to go for our demo, and we're going to be looking, I have a new camera view for you to check out. I've got some notes here, so I'm going to refer to some of those. That's okay, that's just for me. But here are our colors. I've got some base coat that I mixed up. And one thing I wanted to mention, let me pull this out. I have been using the Artist Loft soft body on and off for my base coats. And I'm not going to use it anymore for any base coat, for any painting whatsoever. I just opened up a new bottle, and that I got pretty recently. It was this one right here, kind of a different label, soft body acrylic paint, and it really created a lot of pearl cells when I poured on top of it, and it kind of wrecked the painting. I was not wanting or expecting pearlized cells to pop up. So, and it's also much thicker, I noticed, than the older formula. So I think you could use this as your white for your cloud mixtures, I think, if you wanted to. But I'm avoiding it now for my base coats. So I'm just using other paints for my base coats. Just wanted to mention that if you've been using this. It'll work great if you're expecting like pearls or expecting like cloudy effects. But when you don't want that and they pop up, it's a little bit discouraging. So I just wanted to point that out. So I'm not using the Artist Loft anymore for base coats. What I am using instead is a different Artist Loft paint. I'm just going to the regular Artist Loft acrylic out of the tube. And so I'm using this for base coats. I used this way back and it worked fine. I started using it again. Works fine. It doesn't create any pearl cells when you're tilting your painting. It's just kind of a regular old white paint. So this is kind of what I'm going with. It's fairly affordable. It's, you know, more affordable than a lot of other brands. You can get the big tubes, and they're a little bit more affordable too. If you have coupons, of course, that always helps. And they often have a buy one get one half off, which is nice. So this is kind of my new go-to for just a regular old base coat if I'm mixing it up. Otherwise, I'd be using, you know, leftover paints, things like that, which is totally fine as well, as long as you don't have something weird in there, like cloud mixtures or something else. So I just wanted to point that out. This is a base coat, just mixed it with 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part Artist Loft, regular old white, titanium white, and some water to get the number 2 consistency. So that is a little bit about my base coats and what I've kind of discovered lately, and kind of a surprise, but I thought I'd let you know about that. And again, here is the Folk Art, a little closer up look, the Folk Art multi-surface satin. And one thing I want to point out, you know, we've used this for quite a few paintings now in different demos. The satin just refers to the sheen. This is not a satin enamel, but it has some semi, you know, I guess satin enamel kind of effects, I guess. It's not like a pure, true satin enamel that makes a really cloudy painting, but it creates some beautiful lacing, and I really like using it. So this is kind of my go-to white that I've been using lately, and I quite enjoy it. And then, of course, the Deco Art satin enamel, that creates the you know, the more cloudy effects in our painting, and the two combined work really nicely together. So that's the basis of our cloud mixture, and I've got my cloud mix right here ready to go. And I've mixed up kind of a colorful palette, kind of an analogous color palette. I've got some magenta here, and I mixed up 2 different colors. Like, I went with a quinacridone magenta from Liquitex, and then I also added some of the medium magenta from Liquitex. Their quinacridone magenta, it's a beautiful color, but it's very deep, and so I wanted to lighten it up and give it a little more punch, a little more oomph. And so adding a little bit of the medium magenta helps create a lighter, kind of a really vibrant magenta. So we've got this kind of mixture to get a kind of a middle magenta, which I quite like. We've got a turquoise from just Artist Loft. We have got a Payne's Gray from Liquitex. And this one is another mixture. So these are all just flat paints, non-metallic paints. And then I have one metallic here. And it's a mixture of the metallic blue I like so much, and a metallic purple. So it's a blue violet that I've mixed up here. And there's more purple in there than blue. The blue is a little more powerful than the purple as far as pigment goes. So if you're going to mix up these two together to make like a blue violet, use more of the purple than the blue. So it looks a little more on the blue side in the camera, but it's a kind of a beautiful shade of blue violet. So those are the colors we're going to be using for our demo. And so I'll show you how we're going to layer our paints. I'm going to be using a measuring cup. You could use a regular cup. I'm just using my regular old measuring cup. I've got my other taller ones, which I like a lot, but I'm going to use this one. We need 10 ounces for a 16 by 20. But one thing I want to use this one for is it has a spout, and the way you layer your paints, what side either the spout side or the handle side, it affects, the design and the way the paints interact together. So as you're pouring them down the canvas. So you want to pay attention to that. I would actually make a note when you're doing a painting, and note which side you're layering your paints on and then which side you're pouring your paints out of. So for this demo, I'm going to be layering my paints on the spout side and then of course pouring the paints out from the spout side. And we can see what that does, like the effects. Now if I layered from the handle side and then poured out the spout side, it will be different. You'll get a different design and a different like interplay of colors. So I would experiment with both ways and make notes on the effects you get. And I would actually try an experiment doing exactly the same colors, same layer order, and experimenting on both sides and then kind of seeing what that does. Actually, that would be a great fun experiment to do in one of our upcoming videos. So maybe we'll do one of those. So, but for this video, we're going to keep things, relatively simple. We're going to layer on the spout side, pour on the spout side. And then once I pour this, there are two different directions you can pour it on your canvas. So, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, maybe I'll talk about that now before I start layering paint and perhaps have a disaster. So let me talk about that now. So I'm going to just bring my canvas over and move my paints. So normally when I do a waterfall pour on camera, I pour from this end and I'm pouring towards the canvas. So I'm pouring the paint, on the edge. It's elevated. I'm pouring on the edge towards the canvas, just basically because my camera is over here and you get a better view. Well, today I have moved my camera, or one of my cameras, over this way so you can see what it looks like when I pour from the other side. So, because normally when I'm doing a pour at home, I have done that before, just pouring it this way. But more often than not, I will hold up the other end and then pour this direction. And this is pouring away from your canvas. So the paint will do different things and create different designs like related to the direction you're pouring. So this way you're pouring towards your canvas. This way you're pouring away from your canvas and the paint is coming down and then running underneath your cup. It creates different effects. And that's another thing we could probably experiment with and see, the differences. So, and that's just basically in the basic layout of your paint puddle, the way the paint comes out of the cup, the way it rolls down the canvas. So all these little different details matter and affect the way your paint looks. So for today's demo, I'm going to be holding it up from this end, my left end, with my left hand, and I'll be pouring on the canvas away from the canvas, and the paint puddle will be rolling down underneath the cup. And I think, and I've had great results that way. I've had great results both ways, but there are differences. So I just wanted to let you know that, and feel free to experiment with that and try from both sides. And you will kind of see the different results. So now you can, what I like to do normally is just hold the canvas with my hand. It gives me a lot of freedom and flexibility. I can alter the angle of the canvas really easily whenever I want. Normally, as the puddle rolls down, I'll lower the canvas down until it gets back to the table. You could use some cups if you wanted to. And if you're going to use cups to create your angle, I would go with some not so tall cups. That's a terrible way to say that. Shorter cups is a much better way. So shorter cups to create not a very shallow incline, not a really steep incline. to let that puddle kind of roll down a little bit slower. If you have an angle that's too high, the puddle's going to roll down before all of your paint has been poured out of your cup, and it starts pouring right off your canvas. So it's kind of tricky to know exactly how what kind of angle to get. That's why I like to kind of hold it, and I can adjust it on the fly. But if you wanted to put on cups and have that, just have the canvas be stationary while you're pouring, I would recommend some shorter cups rather than some really tall cups. So hopefully that makes sense. And Lynn is asking, how do you spell magenta? Magenta is spelled M-A-G-E-N-T-A. So M-A-G-E-N-T-A. And here, let's see here. I just put it in the chat. So there you go, magenta. And magenta is a red-violet color. So it's part red and part purple, and you get a magenta. And there are a lot of different types of magenta out there. There's light magenta, dark magenta, medium magenta, quinacridone magenta, all sorts of colors. And then there's other colors that are basically magenta, but they call them some other name, like rouge or rose or stuff like that. So there's lots of different colors that are kind of magenta colors. It's a fun color. So, all right, so where was I? Hopefully that helps. And let's see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and layer our cup, and it will actually do a demo. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. But let's go ahead and start our demo and start this layering process. So when you're doing cloud pours, pretty much any cloud pour, the amount of cloud mix determines how much white and how much cloudiness, of course, is in your painting. I have found that maybe 1 or 2 layers of white work best. You can try more, you could try less. 2 is about the normal amount, average amount I will put in. I've put in less, I've put in more, but we're going to stick with like 2 layers of the white as we layer our cup here. And so again, we need 10 ounces, and I'm going to be layering from the spout side, of course, like I mentioned, and that's also, of course, how we're going to be pouring it out of our cup. So I'm going to put in not a huge layer of white. The more you put in, the more the white is going to take over, the clouds are going to take over your painting. So, I mean, it's a balancing act. It's kind of experimentation. There's no right or wrong way, really. I'm just giving you kind of some general ideas. So on top of that, I'm going to be putting our turquoise. And then I'm going to go with our magenta. And then our blue violet. And then for dark, I'm using the Payne's Gray. So you have a nice dark value in there. And so that's one layer. I'm going to go back to the cloud mix, give it another layer. And remember, with all the pours, whether it's a straight pour, ring pour, this is basically a elevated, like, straight pour. But the first colors you put in are the last ones that come out of your cup. So when I end here with these last colors, the last few ounces of paint most likely will get tilted off the canvas. So you don't need to have any cloud mix like close to the top of your cup, because more than likely it will get kind of tilted off, because that will be the very beginning of your puddle as it starts being poured onto the canvas. Now I got a ways to go here, so I've got 2 ounces left, so I'm gonna leave out the cloud. I have 2 layers of my cloud. I'm good with that. I'm just gonna go and change up the color layer order. I'm gonna go with some magenta next, some turquoise, put some blue on top of that, maybe some magenta on top of the blue, and I'm almost there. And then I'm just going to end with a little more of the Payne's Gray, and that's our 10 ounces. And we'll see what happens with this one. So you never know, and you can again get different results with the cloud mixture. Sometimes it'll create, lots and lots of beautiful cloudiness. In this particular, the particular types of clouds this mixture creates, sometimes they'll be, less evident. So it kind of depends on, the paint, the color. I haven't really nailed down like 100% surefire way of getting those clouds, but more than likely, we're going to get some very cool ones. It also depends on how you layer the paint and then the direction you're pouring the paint out onto the canvas. So here's our canvas. Let's go ahead and put our base coat down. Let's see if that's enough or too much. Grab my knife. Here we go. Probably too much. Yeah, definitely too much. And by the way, this is number 2 consistency that I'm working with. All the paints and the base coat. Just standard number 2 consistency, and then all the other colors are just the easy formula. So 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and then just enough water to get to that number 2 consistency. The only special paint is our cloud mixture, and but you could use the Liquitex formula, and we'll be using that in upcoming demos. You could use the Vallejo pouring medium, you could use the golden, you could combine them all together. I'm excited about experimenting with that more often. A combination of all 3 of those crazy pouring mediums to get some wild results. So, but this demo is just kind of the basic to show you how to do it. So we've got our base coat on. We can give it a super quick torch. Get rid of any air bubbles. Still a good idea. There we go. Okay, so let me flip the camera now to the other side, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So here is my left side, and you've never seen this side before, but let me see. There is the edge of our canvas. I'm going to just scooch it forward. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to be using this, my right hand, pouring over here, kind of in the middle of our, let me show you, kind of in the middle of our canvas. This is just going to go straight up. The canvas is just being elevated on both ends. It's not like a crazy wonky, something like that. We're just going to go straight up for kind of a basic waterfall cloud pour, pouring right about here. but the cup is going to be backwards, like to you. So here's my cup, and as I pour, it's going to be running underneath. So I'm actually pouring away from the canvas. So you might not be able to see the puddle right at first, but it'll start pouring down towards you. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, there's the magenta and the blue. That's what I ended with. That was the last, and some of the Payne's gray. Those are the last colors in the cup. And I just want a thin stream. It might be hard to see the stream. I don't know if you can. But we're not going to get a lot of action until we hit the cloud mixture. And we're starting to get there now. And you can see the paint is pouring down around the stream that's coming out of the cup. So, which is kind of the opposite of if I was pouring towards the canvas. So I'm going to start lowering the canvas a little bit. So here we have gotten to the bulk of our cloud mix. And I'm going to set the canvas down and then tilt my cup back, grab that last little drip. Oh, I missed one. That's okay. And we've got our puddle. So all of our cloud is kind of, it's in this whole puddle here, mostly around this area. It's going to spread out and start doing its thing once we get into the tilting process. So there we go. Let me, that's the reverse view of the studio. And let me go back to the top view. And here we go. We've got some cloudy things happening. Here's our big cloud puddle. It's looking very pretty. So let's go ahead and start our tilting process. You could let this sit for a minute, a couple minutes if you want to. We're getting some other activity, but more things are going to start popping up as we start tilting. So first thing I'm going to do is bring this puddle down towards the bottom. I'll bring that back up. Then I'm going to kind of rock it back and forth. And I want to stretch this puddle out and cover more of the canvas. So it's a little bit different situation with our tilting, a little different process. And then I'm going to turn it around. Can rock it kind of back and forth. Just expand our paint puddle. And we're getting some big cloudy cells. I'm excited about that. And so at this stage, we've got a lot of paint up here. I want to tilt off of these two corners kind of to get them situated first. Then we'll deal with kind of the bottom two corners. So let's pour off of this one first. And of course, I don't want to lose a lot of my cloud up there. So I'm tilting it kind of at an angle, letting the paint run down. But I'm going to bring it back up here next. If you run it all the way down, it can be difficult to bring it back up, and you run the risk of really stretching out your cells. So I'm going to get this corner tilted out next. There we go. Now I'm just going to kind of work back and forth, kind of work all those big cells down. And my goal is trying not to get them too crazy and overstretched. They're starting to get a little weird, but that's okay. So let's go to this corner next. It's looking good, and then I'm just going to bring in the paint back to this our final corner. I'm going to switch my hands. And there we go. So we've got all of the canvas covered. We've got a lot of cells happening. That's what I was hoping for and what I was expecting would happen, hopefully. This type of cell, which are these kind of big, fluffy cells with these really fine lines in between them. That's what I really like about this particular formula. And so now we can do any adjusting we want. It's kind of a fun painting. I think I'm going to just tilt a little bit more down and bring some of these cells towards the bottom edge here. So for that, I'm just going to hold it upright. Just tilt a few off and let those first cells just kind of touch that bottom edge, and then I'll tilt them back. That's just a composition decision. And there we go. So it's kind of a fun composition. I like it. It's kind of a triangular format. I don't want to overstretch this because the cells are going to get really weird. I think I'm going to leave it. I quite like what's happening, and the cells will develop. They'll continue to evolve a bit as the painting sits here and dries. So I'm just going to wipe my hands quickly. And I'll take you in for a closer look. And Lynn mentioned that the magenta got lost. It's still in there, and I can see it. It's hard to see on the camera, I think, but when I zoom in, I think you'll be able to see it. We've got bands of magenta right here. Oh, it did kind of blend with the blue and the turquoise. We've got some magenta down here, but that really bright magenta, yeah, it kind of went away. We have hints of the magenta throughout, but not these big, bold, big, bold, like pink stripes running through there, which I'm fine with. It's in there. A lot of the magentas are actually semi-transparent. Some of them are opaque, some of them are semi-transparent, so that will affect the vibrancy that you'll get when they're dry. The quinacridone magenta that I use is semi-transparent, and the medium magenta I used, I believe that's opaque. I'm just looking quick. It's no, it's semi-transparent as well. So a lot of the magentas, they don't have a lot of guts to them, meaning they're not super powerful when they're dry, but they're fun colors. So, all right, let me zoom in and you can check out kind of the crazy cells. Let me adjust something here. It might make it a little easier to see, but here's the bottom corner. It's still kind of dark, but there is some magenta in there mixed with the purple. And then as you look at the cells, there's little hints. Little hints of magenta popping in there. Here's the biggest band right there of the magenta. And there's the beautiful kind of cloudy effects. A lot of cool cells. So there we go. That is a waterfall cloud pour, one version of it, and the new cloud mixture. So feel free to give that a try and see what you think. And I think I really like this area, kind of right in here. I like that a lot. So let me go back. And see what you think, if you have any questions. So it did what it's supposed to do, what I was hoping it would do, the new cloud mix. That's what the effects that I've been getting most of the time, not all the time or every time, but I really love these effects. And so they're kind of similar to the first Easy Cloud mixture, but you can get more cloudy effects with this mix, and these big kind of fluffy cells with that super tiny thin lacing throughout them. So it's kind of a blend between like the 4-part cloud mixture and the Easy Cloud mixture. So I'm quite happy with it, and I've been using it quite a bit. So, but any questions you have, let me know. And I'll be happy to answer. Lynn is saying, quinacridone organic compound used in pigments. Only some paints will use the organic quinacridone. Most of them now, it's and you have to check, they have a a laboratory made version of quinacridone. So some of them would be organic, some would be like made in the lab with like organic chemistry. So, and those can provide, the man-made version of quinacridone will provide like a little bit more brilliant pigment. So, and Carla's saying Cinda had a question. Let me scroll back up and see. And let's see here. I'm looking. Not finding it yet. Oh, here we go. And Cinda's asking, have you ever tinted your cloud mix like a pastel color? Yes, I have. I've done several different types of like tinted cloud mixtures. We're going to look at a colored cloud mix in one of our demos. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can use, like if you wanted just like a pastel, you can use maybe half of a part of the folk art white, or maybe 3/4, and then actually probably more than that, because it's only going to take a little bit of color kind of to tint it to like a pastel color. So, and you probably want to add that gradually to get to the consistency you want, or the intensity of color you want. So, like if I was going to make like a teal cloud mix, I'd put in maybe a half part of folk art, maybe, you know, just a small amount, like a little squirt of like teal or turquoise, mix it up, see what it looks like. And I'd have the satin enamel in there as well. And then if you need a little bit, then you can add a little bit more of the folk art, a little bit more of the turquoise to get it kind of nice in the middle, or right where you want it to be. And it'll give you a very nice, beautiful pastel color. Now you could create a more intense color if you use the bare satin enamel. That's the deep base, which is more of a transparent base instead of the white. And you could also add, and I don't know if they have this in colors. I have not yet looked, but I will look and see if they have the folk art multi-surface in colors, and I'll give it a try. I don't know if the different colors will act the same, but you can use a different color paint, and that'll give you a much more intense color. So if you wanted like a blue cloud mixture, you can try that. Now it does act differently. The effects will look different. I've done a black cloud mix before, and it gives you some very interesting effects, but it looks a lot different than the white. The white is so bright and it stands out. You can see everything. When you go into colored cloud mixtures, it gets a little bit more subtle, if that makes sense. But it's definitely worth experimenting with. There are different colors of the satin enamel, the Deco Art satin enamel. That's another thing you can experiment with, using different colors of the Deco Art. I've tried it using like a gray and then some other colors. Not quite as powerful of a reaction, I've found, but you still can get some very pretty effects. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to kind of play around and get some custom, interesting cloud mixtures. We'll take a look at that coming up in the demos in the future. Great question. And let's see here. Let me go back down. And okay, that was it. No other questions came in. Let's see. Oh, there they are. Okay. And so yeah, I answered that one. And Carla's asking, do you mix colors together before Floetrol? I always put the Floetrol in the cup first. So whenever I make my like pouring guides, my little measuring guides, the first number and first line is always Floetrol. That's the first thing that always goes in. I just find it's a whole lot easier to add the rest of the the stuff into the Floetrol, it's just a lot easier for me to mix it up. It mixes up quicker. You don't have to kind of dig it off the bottom of the cup. So as always goes Floetrol, paint, and then like an additive. So this is the mixing guide for the new Cloud 2.0. So I have Floetrol, I have the paint, the folk art paint, and then I have the satin enamel like on the top. And so I just fill it till it hits my lines. Then I just mix it all up, and then I add the water after these three are mixed, or whatever, the paint, pouring medium, Floetrol. Once those are all together, I'll mix them all together. Then I'll determine if I need to add water, and then I will add the water at that stage, and then or continue to add it till I get the proper consistency. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Good question. All right, let's see here. Any other questions you might have? I think I hit them all. Take a quick peek at the top. Yep, I think that's it. Okay, well, that is a walkthrough of our technique of the month, our waterfall cloud pour. Next week we'll take a look at a couple variations using different cloud mixture, different canvas orientation. Maybe we'll try a colored cloud mix. So we can have a lot of different ways of kind of modifying this technique and doing some different fun things. So, but until then, I don't think I can see you Friday. I have another appointment. I didn't think it was going to be Friday, but it got moved to Friday. So I think I'll have to cancel the Friday live this week, but I will see you again next week, and we'll take a look at some more fun waterfall cloud pours. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you again very soon. If you do a cloud pour, post it up in the membership. Love to see what you come up with. So thanks so much, everyone. I will talk to you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.